Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And we will share the screen. There it is. Welcome to the November 26th Zoom Satsang Keynote presentation. Our first topic is the Publisher's Desk from April 2017, The Power of Kindly Speech. And this Publisher's Desk was written to present Gurudeva's simple guidelines for kindly speech. One of the key teachings of Gurudeva is that we are a soul, a divine being. However, we live in a physical body as embodied souls with strong thoughts and emotions. Thus, we have a soul nature, intellectual nature, and an instinctive nature. He describes this plurality as three phases of the mind: superconscious or spiritual, which is the soul, intellectual or mental, and instinctive or physical, emotional. It is the instinctive, animal-like nature which contains the tendencies to become angry, jealous, fearful, or hurtful to others. Part of making progress on the spiritual path is learning to control the instinctive mind. This is where the yamas, the 10 ethical restraints, come into play. They provide a list of tendencies we need to subdue. The classical Hindu depiction of restraining the mind is the charioteer pulling back on the reins of a team of 3, 4, or 5 horses to keep them under control. The yamas are the reins, which help us control our instinctive and intellectual natures, which are like strong steeds that can work for us or run wild if not kept in check. And a question to you: how would you define ahimsa? The first yama is not injury, ahimsa, not harming others by thought, word, or deed. Threefold. Ahimsa, nonviolence, as we all know, is a central Hindu principle. Of course, most of us do not indulge in physical violence. We may conclude from this that ahimsa presents no challenge to us. However, looking more closely at the definition, we see that it includes not harming others by our thoughts or words. Hence, those following a spiritual life need to practice not injury in our speech and even our thoughts. To make progress on the spiritual path, we need to focus on our weak points and strive to improve them. Furthermore, we need to hold the attitude that no matter how well we are doing in a particular practice, we can always do better. Find ways to further refine our behavior. Speech is perhaps our most powerful tool for communication and a worthy focus for our attention. And your question is, what is Gurudeva's fourfold guideline for appropriate speech? Gurudeva provides a fourfold guideline to judge if our speech is appropriate. Speak only that which is true, kind, helpful, and necessary. Let's take the example of a friend who is overweight. We are genuinely worried that it is vital for his health to lose some weight. We voice our concern by saying, Ravi, you are way too heavy. Our message passes the test of helpfulness but fails the test of kindliness. We need to express our concern more diplomatically. Perhaps, I hope you won't mind my saying this, Ravi, but it would be good for your health to get serious about diet and exercise. Even helpful words need to be expressed in a kindly way if they are to have the intended effect. Another question. What are the 4 common forms of hurting others with our speech? The 4 common forms are joking, teasing, gossiping, and backbiting. Let's look at some examples that illustrate joking and teasing. For example, a peer has a special privilege or position. We grumble, "Look at Mr. I'm better than you. Why was he exempted from the work we had to do today?" Second example, someone speaks with a foreign accent. You mimic his faulty pronunciation and laugh. Third example, a coworker has difficulty multiplying numbers. When she struggles with a calculation, you make fun of her. The rationale is, I'm joking, just being humorous, entertaining my friends. In truth, your words are hinsa. You are harming others through your speech and justifying it by saying you are just joking, as if humor removes or exempts the hurt. Words can cause real pain, even if they are said in jest. Many don't realize this. Critical humor comes at the expenses of the person you are joking about. In evaluating these examples with our fourfold test, we can say that they are neither true, kind, helpful, or necessary. Gossip is talking about the details of others' personal lives for the delight of it when they are not present. It's like creating and watching our own soap opera. Such talk entertains those present at the expense of the person being gossiped about. Some wives regularly gossip about their husbands on the phone or on the internet with other wives. Some husbands joke or complain about their wives among co-workers. Such idle talk may, perhaps, pass the test of being true, but it fails the other 3 tests: kindness, helpfulness, and necessity. Husbands need the support of their wives to be successful. Wives need the support of their husbands to be secure. Telling tales and teasing disastrously undermines support in any relationship. Last but not least is backbiting. Finding faults in another and sharing such shortcomings with others is a hobby many enjoy. It is so much easier to look for faults in others and complain about them than to see the same faults in ourselves and correct them. Such is human nature. Tirukkural challenges in verse 190, if men perceive their own faults as they do the faults of others, could misfortune ever come to them? A great verse. And in verse 188, if men are disposed to spread the faults of friends, what deadly harm might they do to strangers? It's our puppy joining in. Backbiting clearly fails our speech test. The fact is that unless we are responsible for someone's upbringing or training, such as parents to their children or supervisors to their staff, it is best to ignore the faults of others and focus instead on finding and improving our own shortcomings. Improving ourselves produces positive spiritual advancement. Criticizing others does not. The next time you find yourself dwelling on the faults in others, ask if you might have that same fault. For what disturbs you in others often indicates what you need to improve in yourself. And another question. To further refine our speech, what are 3 virtues we can focus on? For those on the spiritual path, it is not terribly difficult to avoid backbiting, gossip, and hurtful humor. But controlling and refining our speech on more subtle levels is a lifetime sadhana. 3 virtues we can focus on are courtesy, tact, and sensitivity. Courtesy is being polite, respectful, and considerate of the needs and feelings of others. Tactfulness is being diplomatic and skillful in dealing with people and situations, responding to disagreements judiciously, and maintaining harmony by seeking solutions that offend no one. Sensitivity is holding a delicate appreciation of others' ideas, attitudes, and natures, listening carefully. In conversations and not interrupting, striving to uplift rather than dominate. The Tirukkural warns, not knowing the companionable art of cheerful conversation. Men estrange even friends by divisive discourse. That's really good. As a general strategy, Gurudeva directed us to think before you speak. Reflecting on what we are going to say is necessary, as it protects us from speaking inappropriately. Thus, control of speech has 2 parts. First, before you speak, stop and consider what you will say. Second, determine if your words meet the test of being true, kind, helpful, and necessary. This simple practice can avert many difficulties. It can also be applied after a comment has slipped out, providing important lessons to guide future conversations. We can learn much about speaking pleasant words from the ancient weaver Tiruvalluvar, who devoted chapter 10 of his Tirukkural to the subject. Here are 4 verses to live by. Poverty producing sorrow will not pursue those who speak joy producing words to all they meet. If a man seeks to do good while speaking sweet words, his virtues will wax and his vices will wane. Words yield spiritual rewards and moral excellence. When they do, not wander far from usefulness and agreeableness. And one of my favorites, to utter harsh words when sweet words would serve is like eating unripe fruits when ripe ones are at hand. Clearly, nobody would do that. Our puppy seems to have quieted down. Moving on to our second topic. Answering your questions sent to satsang@hindu.org. We have one question today we're going to answer. I never quite understood fully the meaning of Chellapaswami saying, Eppovo Mudintha Kariyam, or it has been accomplished long ago. It will be great if Bodhinatha could touch on this Mahavakiam in future satsangs. Certainly a major reason it is difficult to understand this Mahavakiam is that it has meanings on many different levels, not just one. So that's one of the reasons it's hard to figure out what it means. It has many different meanings because it applies on different levels. So let's look today at what is perhaps the broadest level. Very cosmic answer Gurudeva is giving. From Merging with Shiva, before you realized the self, you knew all sorts of things about it. You could quote 1,000 different things about the self. You knew so much. And when you come out, you don't know anything about it at all. You know you have had a tremendous experience. You have had an inner bath. Then you go back into just enjoying the experience, contemplation. Then you begin to meditate, coming out again on the experience. And there is a vastness in you that awareness can no longer penetrate. It's a tremendous vastness. You just can't penetrate it anymore. You go in and in and in. And then all of a sudden you realize that you have realized the self again. And you go in and in and in. And then all of a sudden you realize that you have realized the self again. And everything is different. You look at the world from the inside out. You look at people from the inside out. You look at a person and immediately you see how they came along through life. You look at their face and you see what their mother looks like. You look into their subconscious mind and you see what their home looked like. You see what they were like when they were 10 years old, 14, 20, 25 years old, and now they are 30. And at the same time, you are seeing what they are going to look like when they are 40 years old and so forth. You see the whole sequence, all now. Then you really know, after that deep samadhi, that the mind in all phases of manifestation was all finished long ago. That's our phrase, right? It was all finished long ago. It's already complete. So this is a very concrete example. It was all finished long ago. Gurudeva is saying, the past, present, and future of an individual all exists in the current moment. So very interesting to ponder on. Before that, you tried to believe in that concept, and it's a vast concept to believe in, because at certain times when awareness is flowing in the external areas of the mind, it certainly doesn't look that way at all. Our perspective is limited. And to comment on Gurudeva's answer, you can sense it here, and he also says it elsewhere in the Master Course. Everything that will ever exist on the material plane already exists in subtle form in the Akasha. So some new discovery is a new discovery in the physical world, but in the Akasha it's always existed. So in that sense, it's all finished long ago. Everything that's ever going to exist is finished at the very beginning. It's just being brought forth from the Akasha into the physical world. So that's just one meaning. As I said, a very broad meaning, a very cosmic meaning. And we'll look at less broad, less cosmic meanings in the future. And we still have a third topic. More quotes from Yogaswami's words of our Master. I am everywhere. You are everywhere. But you don't believe it. Very interesting statement. What prevents a Hindu from believing he or she is everywhere? That's the question for you. What prevents you from believing you are everywhere? Our answer. Only thinking of oneself as a person and therefore as limited. Believing yourself to be a soul, the essence or nucleus of which is all-pervasive consciousness and transcendent reality, overcomes this limitation. So you're still a person, but you also have the essence of your soul. So you're the person plus the essence of the soul. Second quote from Yogaswami. When you worship God, you must not ask for anything. You must worship for the sake of love. Afterwards, you can ask for your requirements. And the commentary there it's self-explanatory. Doesn't need a commentary. Next one is interesting. How can sorrow affect the Atma? Since sorrow can't affect the Atma, what does that suggest we can do? It suggests that when life upsets us, throws us off center, all we have to do is move awareness to awareness of the Atma, and we will be peaceful and content. So, in Shum, that means our awareness needs to move into the fourth dimension out of the third. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much. Oh.